we'll begin our night of Fairmont Cardinal Athletic Hall of Fame banquet. This is the 24th class that'll be inducted into the Fairmont Cardinal Hall of Fame here tonight. I'm Dan Brookins from KSUM KFMC Radio. Always a pleasure to be here, not only getting to watch the games and call them on the radio, but also to see some of the stories of you folks, and it's always fascinating to me, some of the great things that we end up hearing from our speeches and our inductees here tonight. The Hall of Fame was first envisioned by Tom Mahoney back in the late 1980s. The first class was inducted in 1990. There were classes yearly until 2008, and there was a hiatus. And then Matt Mahoney here and Judy Lorenz and a few of the other original Hall of Fame committee members put the Hall of Fame back in business, if you will, in 2013. And now we're going to be in a cycle here where we're doing a ceremony every even year. So our class of 2018 will be tonight, and then our next will be in 2020. And when we have that next class here in 2020, the building that you see here now is going to be quite a bit different, as this summer the Performing Arts Center here is going to undergo a complete renovation with new seats, new lights, LED lights everywhere, going to be ADA accessible for everyone. So it's going to look fantastic, and we'll look forward to seeing you all here back then in a couple of years. All right, now I'd like to introduce Fairmont High School Athletic Director, head football coach Matt Mahoney.
Thanks, Dan. Again, just this is always kind of a special time of the year. You know, there's a lot of time and work and effort that goes into putting this banquet together, but it's so rewarding. As a former graduate of Fairmont and as a current coach, it's just really an honor to see some of my former teachers, some of my former coaches, some of my former athletes that I coached with or I participated with. We also have some of our former MVPs that I was able to kind of talk to last night after our football game. So it's kind of a special night, just kind of for me in general, just to be able to kind of reconnect with people and to keep that fire going here a little bit. So again, just thanks for everybody for coming out here tonight. We really appreciate it, and to kind of make these 8 inductees going into the Hall of Fame tonight kind of a special night for those people. Like Dan said, we are going to do this every 2 years. If you looked at your dinner plate, it kind of has everybody that's been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and our girls cross country team was state champs in 2016. That was kind of a neat honor to get that year on the white banner down there in the gym. Another big one was Sherwood Sagatol. Where are you at, Sherwood? I know Sherwood's here. Was also into the Sports Hall of Fame. Am I correct on that saying there, Sherwood? What was the name of the Hall of Fame that you were? Yep. The guy is a true, just living legend right here. Let's give him a round of applause. Dan Kerberg, he's going to be coming up here in a minute, also got selected to the Minnesota State Golfing Coaches Association. Am I right, Dan? Let's give Dan a round of applause. Coach Bob Bonk, this past year was our 2017 National Girls Cross Country Coach of the Year. Let's give him a round of applause. And for the first time, we had a Fairmont athlete get drafted into the major leagues. And that was Luke Becker. He ended up getting drafted in the 9th round by the San Diego Padres. Luke's not here. He's probably out in the tractor somewhere right now. But he's home for a few months, and then he's going to be going back down to Arizona here, and I think first part of March, he'll be going to spring training down in Arizona with the San Diego Padres. So, like I said, we've had so many other accomplishments that I'm not going to try and get to tonight. But those were 4 or 5 that did stick out to me. If you are currently in our Hall of Fame, so if you're in our Hall of Fame, could you please stand up at this time? Let's give them a round of applause. Also, this process of selecting our inductees is something we don't do overnight. I'll probably give the committee maybe a month off, and then we'll kind of I'll pull them back together. We'll talk about the banquet, and then we'll start kind of already starting to get some names in for 2020. If you have somebody that you think should be in our Cardinal Hall of Fame, please contact me at the high school, email me, call one of our community members. We're always looking for people to go into our Hall of Fame. But I also want to recognize our Hall of Fame committee, because they spend a lot of time. I bring them in the mornings, I bring them in at lunch, so they take a lot of time out of their day to make this night possible. So once I call your name, would you guys please stand up? Deb Heinrich, Sue Moslowski, Sue Ruin, Jared Thompson, Bob Bonk, Brad Gerhardt, Mila Howlett, Tom Seifert, and Charlie Soros. Let's give them a round of applause. Also, if you notice on the back of your booklet when you came in here, we couldn't do this without our sponsors. And one of the big things that I'm just going to say, the Gerhardt crew and family, they go out there and they go door to door to these businesses, and we get a lot of sponsorships to make this possible. So I want to take a quick minute here and just thank all of our sponsorships. Holiday Inn Green Mill, Dutch Creek Farms, Tate Tree Service, Bank Midwest, Burtis Chiropractic Center, REM Heartland, Lakeview Funeral Home, State Bank of Fairmont, DeWar Electric, U.S. Bank, Wilson Rentals, Bart's Trucking, Hugeson Pork, Richard's Auto Repair and Towing, First Farmers and Merchants, Cardinal Power Fast Pitch Association, Chain of Lakes Driving, Fairmont Awards, Clancy Chiropractic, Thompson and Haugen Jeweler, Nutrin Ag Solutions, Dairy Freeze, Photo Press, Fairmont Booster Club, Fairmont Sports, Fairmont Sentinel, Mahoney Appraisal, Tech Builders, Clean Right ChemDry, Seth Becker Insurance, Culligan Water, and Gemini Studios. Let's give them all a round of applause. Also, just another special thanks to the Gerhardt family for all the decorations, all the time, all the effort. They are a wrecking crew. They are phenomenal. If you guys need any decorations for family get-togethers, call the Gerhardt family, okay? Because they do a phenomenal job. Let's give them a round of applause. Last thing here before I pull up the MVPs, we do have, I think there's 7 ferns available that was donated by Barb Van Brunt. And if you want to take a fern home after the program tonight, you're more than welcome to take one of those home. At this time, could I get the coaches up on stage, please, that are here? One of the things that makes my job easy are these people around me. This is my 8th year now as the activities director, and just the stability that I've had and seen over the last 8 years has been fantastic. I think they do a lot of the problem solving before the problem gets to my desk, which makes my life a lot easier. So I just want to take a quick minute here and just highlight these people. Brad Haugen, he's our boys and girls golf coach. Deb Heinrich. Brad, before I get to Deb, how many years have you been coaching now here at Fairmont? 11 years as our golf coach. Does a fantastic job. We got Deb Heinrich here. Deb's our cheerleading coach. Used to be a dance coach and just retired from teaching here a couple years ago. Deb's been coaching for 20 years as well. Coach Bob Bonk coaches our boys and girls cross country and boys and girls track and field team, and I think he's on about year 50 now as a head coach. So, how many total seasons? 112, okay, 112. So I was off by a little bit. Jared Thompson, he's our head boys basketball coach. And Jared, what's this, about 10, year 10 now for you? Year 9. And then we got Tom Seifert over there. Tom does a lot of our junior high stuff. He is also our assistant softball coach, and he's been doing that for a while now. And he's also a Fairmont grad. So let's give these guys a round of applause for taking time out of their night. MVPs, can I have you guys come up on stage? MVPs, you guys need to come up here and give a speech. So I hope you guys are prepared. Nate, we'll start with Nate Kallenbach. One of the things that when Big Tom Mahoney started this way back when, they wanted to include the MVPs, and I know that there's some MVPs that are actually going in today that were at one of those Hall of Fame banquets way back when, and this is the future. This is the future of our Cardinal Hall of Fame. Someday down the line, these people will be representing us. And so we wanted to make sure that we continued to have these people highlighted at our banquet. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to read a whole bio on you. You don't have to give a speech, okay? You don't have to give a speech. God, you guys thought I was serious, didn't you? All right. Maybe we should do a speech then, huh? Nate, you want to start? No? Okay. But we wanted to make sure that we highlighted them and gave them some recognition. The other thing, some of these people are at college. Some of them are still in high school. Some of them can't even drive yet. But one of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to give them something that wasn't a pin, that wasn't a plaque, that wasn't something that when they have their big graduation and they have 1,000 medals on there, we wanted to give them something kind of unique. So what we're going to give them here is, and I never got one of these when I was in high school, so I stole one. But it's a Fairmont Cardinal MVP lanyard. So graduates, when you guys go back to college, use it as your car, your dorm room key, something so that this kind of, you don't forget about us. And for those of you that are still here, this is a great time to use this as your car key. And for some of you, I see a freshman down there that can't drive, you can hang on to this for maybe a year or two from down the road. But I want to just take a quick minute here and highlight our MVPs. And I'm going to just go through this real quick as I can. I want to make sure that I do recognize them. I'm also going to recognize the people that are not here. So just kind of bear with me here. So here are your 2016-17 MVPs. And you guys that are here, once you guys, I call your name, kind of come up in front, walk around, you can shake their hands, and Coach Seifert is going to give you guys your lanyard. So our 2016-17 MVPs for the fall were Corey Lyons in football, Nathan Willett in boys cross country, Jenna Pavitt in girls cross country, Courtney Williams in volleyball, Noah Becker in boys soccer, Maya Lytle in girls soccer, Lauren Carlson in girls tennis, Nika Campbell in cheerleading. In the wintertime, Walker Tortson for boys basketball, Claire Cutler for girls basketball, Leighton Becker for boys hockey, Taylor Nuss for girls hockey, Brenna Peterson in gymnastics, Colin Stuber in wrestling, and Lauren Carlson in dance. In the springtime, we had Brady Allen in baseball, Courtney Williams in softball, Hayden Burhau in boys track, Lizzie Subert in girls track, Tanner DeWar in boys golf, Bergen Semp in girls golf, and Tyler Head in boys tennis. That's our 2016-17 MVPs. Let's give them a round of applause. And here are our 2017-18 MVPs. Nate Kallenbach in football, Andrew Moeller in boys cross country, Ileana Ramon in girls cross country, Courtney Williams and Bailey Swanson in volleyball, Matthew Anderson in boys soccer, Brooke Hundredson and Lexi Kaufman in girls soccer, Sydney Haney in girls tennis, Josie Varbencourt in cheerleading. Our winner, Brady Allen in boys basketball, Taylor Christinger in girls basketball, Colby Cool in boys hockey, Mackenzie Householder in girls hockey, Brielle Mead in gymnastics, Jackson Roman in wrestling, Amanda Heinze in dance. And the springtime, Nick Eversman in baseball, Courtney Williams and Erica Kim in softball, Wyatt Queering in boys track, Lizzie Subert in girls track, Brian Grotti in boys golf, Bergen Semp in girls golf, and Carter Clandrud in boys tennis. Let's give our 2017-18s a round of applause. Like I said, this is just kind of an exciting night for me, just to see all the old faces. I hate to say it, but old faces, and I'm one of them as well. But it's just a fun night, and I hope you guys enjoy our banquet tonight. So, again, thanks for coming out, and last but not least, fight on.
And our first inductee tonight is in the coaching category. Ron Kallheim will be introduced by Dan Kerberg.
First of all, congratulations to all you MVPs. It was 1983 and the Cardinal golf program was in need of a middle school coach. Harm Oldenkamp, who was the head girls coach at that time, and I heard of Ron Kallheim, who was coaching some middle school basketball, and we thought he might be a candidate for our girls golf program. So we took him out for breakfast one morning, and to hear Ron tell it, we twisted his arm until he consented to be the middle school golf coach. Now, that was back when the middle school golf program was at Rolling Greens Golf Course, the old par 3 golf course. And at that time, we had in the neighborhood of 50 7th and 8th graders out for middle school golf, both boys and girls. Now, you can just imagine 50 7th and 8th graders all in one place and all swinging golf clubs. What could go wrong, right? But Ron and his assistants organized that practice so that 1/3 of the kids were on the practice range hitting practice balls, 1/3 were chipping and putting on the putting green, and 1/3 were out playing golf. And they rotated those groups. So it became manageable. Now, they didn't have enough time to spend a lot of time with each kid to work on their individual skills, but they instilled in those kids a love of the game, and many of those kids went on to successful high school careers and are still playing golf today. So a lot of people can attribute their golf abilities to Ron and his start in that position. Ron stayed as a middle school golf coach for 5 years, and when Harm Oldenkamp retired in 1988, Ron took over the head girls golf position. And he remained in that position for 26 years until his retirement in 2013. During that 26 years, Ron created quite a resume and left a distinct legacy in the golf program. As you can see in your program, Ron had 20 South Central Conference championships. He had 11 conference medalists or individual champions. His teams went to the state tournament 9 times, 4 in Class A, 3 in Class AA, where he had his best finish, a 3rd place finish in 2002. Then the high school league went to a 3-class system in golf, and Ron's teams went 2 more times. He had 11 individual state qualifiers in addition to those team qualifiers. He had 10 all-state academic girls. Ron was selected as the section golf coach of the year numerous times. In 2012, Ron was selected as the state golf coach of the year for the Class AA. He received a 25-year coaching award, and in 2015 was inducted into the Minnesota State Golf Coaches Hall of Fame. So this is the second Hall of Fame that Ron is inducted into. In working with Ron for many years, I was so impressed with his patience with young girls who often were just beginners. He nurtured and encouraged those often timid, immature girls who were just finding out if they even liked the game of golf. He mentored many of these young women into very accomplished players. And he had to deal with a few things that I, as a boys coach, didn't have to worry about, such as hormones, body changes, boyfriend issues, and fashion. Ron dealt with those issues and managed to teach the basics of the golf swing to the girls, as well as instructing them in golf etiquette, rules, course management, all at the same time. Perhaps you read it in your program and also in the Photo Press and the Sentinel. His fellow coaches called him the swing doctor. So I guess if any of you need help with your golf game, you know who to see. His golf game is still very good. He was the Interlochen Club champion in 2006, and it should be noted that Ron is still very active in community affairs. He's active in the Let's Go Fishing chapter, where he is in charge of scheduling volunteers for senior citizens to go out on pontoon rides for either fishing trips or sightseeing excursions. Ron has served on the board of directors of both Rose Lake and Interlochen Golf Course. In addition to that, Ron has taken over the massive duty of removing trees at Interlochen Golf Course. Over the past 6 or 7 years, nearly 400 trees have been cut down, loaded onto flatbeds, and hauled out to the tree dump. Ron has coordinated these efforts and put in countless hours himself loading and hauling trees. He's been working diligently, as you can imagine, the last 2 weeks. The membership there certainly owes him a debt of gratitude. Ron is a native of Lake Mills, Iowa, where he was an accomplished high school athlete in basketball. He was a center on their basketball team. And in baseball. Ron and his wife, Linda, have 2 children, Corey and Tracy, who are both Cardinal Hall of Fame members, inducted in 2008. Corey's an attorney in the Twin Cities and played basketball, tennis, and cross country in high school, and he's continuing his athletic prowess. Can't be here tonight because he's playing in a national tennis tournament. Tracy, who played basketball and ran in both cross country and track in high school, now lives in Sioux Falls, where she worked as an athletic trainer and is now a nurse practitioner. They have blessed the Kalheims with 5 grandchildren. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the first 2018 Cardinal Hall of Fame inductee, the swing doctor, Ron Kalheim.
Boy, I didn't know I was so good. Thank you for everyone for being here, and I'd like to congratulate the other Hall of Fame inductees and the MVPs for their honor. I remember the first times that we were doing that. It was nice to see all the students come in and see and listen to some of the stories that the old athletes and coaches would talk about. I remember the very first year I was doing the videotaping, and I even went to the Hall of Fame out there and looked at pictures to see if I could remember who it was that was talking about the old football train rides back and forth to Blue Earth, stitching the players back up again on the way home from their injuries. Lots of good stories. If those old videotapes are still around, they should be made available for the students to hear and anyone else. They were really very good. Well, first of all, I obviously have to thank my family for all the missed meals, the missed track meets, missed tennis meets, and other assorted family events that I didn't make it to. To thank Linda for the late dinners, the babysitting duties that she did over in Sioux Falls when I was on weekend golf meets, and for the frozen cucumber water hand towels on the hot conference golf tournament days and section meets, and many other things. The girls thought I was crazy when I brought frozen cucumber water towels. They begged for them at the next meet after using them one time. Really good. And I have to thank the Fairmont school system for allowing me to be a coach and work with the students, the Rose Lake Golf Club and the Interlaken Golf Club for their support. And our courses are among the best we've played in all of our times going around. I think Dan would agree with that. Like Dan said, missing tonight, our son and daughter. Corey is down in Arlington, Texas, playing in the 18 and over USTA National Tennis Tournament. He started playing tennis recently again, about 3 years ago. And he's on 2 tennis teams up in the city. He's 18 and over, which is mostly bolstered by the young gentleman coming out of college, he says, on their team. And he's on a 40 and over tennis team, and both of them qualified for the national tournament. So in another 2 weeks, he'll be down in Las Vegas playing in that one. And Tracy, she's watching their 7th grade daughter run varsity cross country down in Yankton, South Dakota today, and freshman son running JV. And their oldest daughter, Emma, she spent the day at marching band competition in Sioux Falls. So they do have a good reason for not being here tonight. As Dan said, he and Harm talked me into coaching in 1983, and the fun began. 5 years with the middle school boys and girls. It was great. I really enjoyed that. No, I'm not crazy, but it was fun. We had a good time. 52 golfers the first year. Denny Smith and I were out there. And like you said, we parceled them out in 3 groups, and it worked pretty good. We never lost anyone. Have to thank Dan and Harm for teaching me how to run a golf meet. From a dual meet to a conference tournament to a section tournament. We received many compliments on how our tournaments were run in a pretty professional manner for a high school team. They really appreciated it, and I have to thank Harm and Dan for that. You know, it never hurt either to have coffee and donuts for the coaches when they were here. I do have to tell one story about junior high. As you know, the old par 3 had a little creek running through it. and sent the group of kids out on the course to play. There was a foursome of 4 boys. I can only remember one of the boys' names, Danny Zemke, and his buddy Schmidt. I can't think of his first name. When the group came around to finish, only 2 of the 4 came into the clubhouse. And I asked where the other 2 were. Well, they weren't playing very well, the one said. So they took out their 3 irons and stayed down at the creek on number 7, and they're going to see if they could kill some carp. So that I said, well, good. I hope they hit something there then. I can't believe it was 31 years when you include the junior high and the varsity. I was lucky. I inherited a very good golf program to begin with. Sandy Meschke, John Schoens, and Harm Oldenkamp, the 3 coaches before I started, had established a leading program in the South Central Conference. I inherited a tradition of the girls playing well, and I did my best to not mess that up. Fairmont was the team to beat if you wanted to be an SEC champ. We actually had a streak with Harm and mine of 21 conference championships in a row. That was fun. Using the Bonk system of scoring. If you don't know what that is, Mr. Bonk developed a system of counting wins and losses. So when you have a dual meet, you obviously either beat one team or you lose to one team. But if you go to an invite or a conference meet or a section meet, there might be 12 or 14 teams there. If you come in first, you beat 13 teams. So that was 13 wins. And I thought, that's a nice way to count it for golf, too. So I started doing that. So going back to 1983 with Harm's years and mine, we had a record of 1,028 wins and 272 losses. And that averaged about, I believe, 475 golf meets during that time, of all combined. I can't accept this honor, though, without thanking the parents for their support and allowing me to coach their daughters. Fairmont's always had the most parents at any of the meets, and thanks to our 2 golf courses that provided many great golfing families. I looked back and I found that there were 10 families that had provided either 2, 3, or 4 girls for my golf teams. We had some exciting and interesting things happen over the years. I'm sure that I'm the only coach that had a golf meet stopped. We were right at the very end of it, luckily. But we had it stopped because there was a drug bust going on across the street from number 10 at Interlaken. They found anhydrous ammonia in a chest freezer down in the boathouse. And they were calling the hazmat team from Minneapolis to come down. So we had to evacuate the golf course. We had a deer hit our vehicle on our way home from Red Wing one time over by Albert Lee. We had a flat tire on the way to the conference golf meet. Dan would remember this. We weren't showing up. We each drive a Suburban over. And we were teeing off in the afternoon. We had a flat tire. This was one of the years I had some of the higher academic girls on the team. So I got the book out to find where the jack was. This was the old Suburban, and I thought, well, it's in the back underneath where the spare tire is. Well, if any of you have had an old Suburban, it's not there. We looked in the book very fast, very excited, not reading, hoping a picture would just pop out at us. We finally realized that the jack in a Suburban is in the engine compartment, not the place that you'd think you'd find it. We got there just in time. They were walking out of the clubhouse to hand out the cards to go to the first tee. We had 2 holes in one during the coaching. Margina Hartman had one in junior high, and Crystal Roforth had one in practice one day. And we had, not everything went well. We had one young lady out at Rose Lake in a golf meet, a 9-hole meet, lose somewhere around 17 to 20 golf balls that day. That was a little while before that swing doctor stuff. What was it like to be on the golf team? You had to learn the rules. Many of our golfers would agree that we knew the rules better than others. The Waseca coach one day thanked the Bishop twins for instructing the two girls they were playing with, who happened to not know very much about the rules and weren't very happy when they got corrected a number of times out on the golf course. Tried to stay with a positive attitude. Tried to change their thinking from I can't do that to how can I learn to do that. Ben Hogan kind of said that in a way. He says, this is a game of misses, and the guy who misses the best is going to win. So we tried to learn to miss better. They also learned a little bit of Iowegian from me, being an Iowan. Down there I learned the phrase, you gotta, meaning you have to. I think it must have been my parents, said, you gotta do this. So when we were learning how to do something, if they were trying to swing in their way, which was maybe quite a bit wrong, they got you got to do it the coach's way. Road trips were fun. There was a quiet time for Coach. They slept. When we were in the Suburbans, going to Marshall or someplace like that, they'd sleep in the morning at 6 o'clock, and I got to listen to WCCO. They got to pick the radio station on the way home if they won. I looked up just this morning, how many different golf courses we played in those 26 years. Somewhere between 32 to 35 different golf courses across southern Minnesota. We had we went from Marshall to Red Wing, up to Hazeltine, to St. Cloud, down to Spencer, Iowa. Played somewhere around 475 golf meets. That's a lot of lost golf balls. Mark Twain said it best, it's good sportsmanship to not pick up lost golf balls while they're still rolling. A few of the fellows I golf with might accuse me of picking them up a little bit like that. But to end, I'd like to say that as much as I appreciate this honor and as grateful as I am for it, one of the greatest awards I've ever been given was the opportunity to coach the girls on my golf teams. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ron. And one other thing he can add to his list of achievements is making it through the Saturday morning coaches show with me and having to suffer through that. So that also is a little badge of honor for quite a few of you, I know, too. So congratulations again. Let's meet our second Hall of Fame inductee tonight. He is a member of the Fairmont High School class of 1991. Joel Sagadahl will be introduced by Coach Bob Bonk.
Joel Sagadahl is currently a very busy family man and successful doctor. Those of us who coached him in high school know him as being someone who is very coachable, very team-oriented, and very hardworking. He was a late bloomer in high school sports, just coming into his own as a junior and senior. Joel competed in 3 sports, basketball, tennis, and cross country, and was extremely successful in all of them. In basketball, he was on the varsity for 2 years, and those were 2 of the best years in Fairmont history. His junior year, the team took 3rd at the state, and as a senior year, he was a starter on a team that lost just a really close game in the section finals to just miss going to state. In tennis, despite being a late bloomer, he was able to letter for 5 years. And a big part of that was his dedication to the sport, going to many dozen tennis tournaments during the summer. His junior year, the tennis team finished 3rd at state, and Joel was 4th in the state individually. His senior year, they were again 3rd in the state, and he and his doubles partner, Chris Scott, finished 2nd in the state tournament. Tennis didn't end in high school. He went on to St. Olaf, where he lettered in tennis for 4 years and was the team captain. And as a senior, he and his doubles partner were ranked 25th in the nation. In cross country, Joel lettered for 3 years. The team he was on as a junior finished second out of 14 teams, so 12-1, to Mounds View, and then went on the rest of the 11 meets that year and finished first every year, or every meet, including winning the state title, which was our first boys state title in school history. A lot of that group came back the next year and kept it going. We won the first 11 meets that year. We only have 12, and including in that was a conference and section, of course. And then at state, we finished second to St. Paul Academy. So during Joel's junior and senior years, I wasn't going to bring this up, but Ron, they were 256-2, and Joel was an all-state runner. I think he finished 17th in the state that year, and there's about over 3,000 boys in Class A cross country that competed and started out that season. So altogether, he and his teammate, Corey Kallheim, probably have done something nobody else in school history has done. And that is they went to state 5 out of 6 seasons. And that's really an amazing statistic, I think. His team finishes at the state meet were a first, a second, and 3/3, and he had individual finishes of second, fourth, and all state. As an adult, Joel has continued to compete in tennis and running despite very limited time to train. One of the great achievements I think he probably has is that he ran a 250 marathon while going to med school. And that's quite a remarkable stat, I thought. And also, one other great thing that he's accomplished, I think of all the people on this planet, he's one of the few that have beat his famous father Sherwood in every road race. So at this time, I would like to present Joel Sagadol.
Well, thank you, Coach Bonk, and congrats to the MVPs of the past couple of years, and congratulations to the other inductees. It's quite an honor. It's fun to be back in Fairmont. I haven't lived here for a while, obviously, and this is quite a display. It's well done. It kind of shows the pride the community has. It shows the involvement, and that's what's nice about Fairmont. You got a lot of parents involved. I think that really adds to the success of things like this. Those were good accomplishments that you said. I came along at a good time, and when I say that, early in my high school career, the class system, we went from AA to single A, and so we were so used to fighting the big schools, and suddenly we got a chance at the smaller teams, and that really lent itself to some more success, and that really benefited me quite a bit. In the fall, I had Coach Bonk and then Coach Paschke, who was going to come up and is an inductee as well. They were numbers guys. Coach Paschke was my calculus teacher, so he definitely was a numbers guy. But cross country lends itself to that, and Coach Bonk would always, after every meet, have a sheet up on the board, and the sheet would say, "How did you do? Was it your season's best? Was it your personal best?" And it would say, "Here are the team times." And so everybody would look at that. It was the biggest sheet everybody would crowd around and watch or read the day after a practice. And that was a good motivator for us. I thought we had a good core team that sort of took pride in that. And Corey Kallheim, who Ron's son, was a big part of a lot of that as well. And we had a lot of good runners that helped out. I was going to say how lucky I was, and you kind of stole my thunder on that, and that's okay. But getting second and at the front of my junior year and second at the end of my senior year and winning everyone in between was a real treat, and I was spoiled. I felt like I was on a very good team, and that really helps you feel better about running, I guess. Then I went on to the winter sport, and winter sport for me was basketball. Coach Hested with Bart Frana was the assistant, and that was a different style. I think these coaches were different. So Coach Hested I like to think of as a friendly drill sergeant, I guess, in some way. So he would, if you didn't make that free throw, you're running. If you didn't do something right, you're going to go running. And the running was easy because I just got done with cross country, so I thought that was all right. But we had a lot of success. It was a rude wake-up call for me in the sense that my junior year we had come off the state championship, and that was fantastic. And then now I'm playing basketball with some of the football players, essentially, is what it was, like Lee Bartz and Dave Murphy and these guys that were very bulky. So my junior year I didn't start. I really felt like I was on the practice squad more than anything else. And Lee Bartz, our running back, would be the guy that I was often tasked to defend, and that was not good for my cross-country body. It was, but it was good. It toughened you up a little bit. My senior year, I got a start, and we had a good team as well. A lot of good years and a lot of fun time. The junior year was also interesting, I should point out, because Coach Hested had just turned 50 that year, or was turning 50, and he laid down a bet with the team, and the bet was, if I'm going to play each of you individually one-on-one, and if I win more than you guys win, you're going to take my wife and I out to a fancy dinner with all the fixings, the bottle of wine, everything. And if not, if you guys win more, then I'll have dinner at my house, some spaghetti or something. And so that was, especially as a guy riding the bench on that one, that was when you got to win. So personal pride. So the team did end up winning, and I think he kind of thought that was going to be the case all along. After winter, though, I moved to spring, and I played tennis on the team for 5 seasons. That was good. Lauren Dunham and Dan Chickus were my coaches. And again, coaches were very different, whereas Coach Bonk was more numbers, and Coach Hested was kind of that drill sergeant. I think Lauren Dunham was more the philosopher, basically, and he was much more laid back, much more easygoing. We had a successful team, third in state a couple of years. That was very good. But we would have some meets or a game I remember playing, and I won one set, lost another. And going into the third, I went to the fence and talked to him, and he said, "Well, I think you got to dance with the lady that brung ya." And I just, like, what? What does that mean? Well, you chip to his backhand and go to the net. That's the lady that won you the first set. You got to do that some more. Oh, okay, so there we go. And he also tried to diffuse a lot of tension, so he would frequently say things like, "Don't worry, there's a billion Chinese people that don't care if you win or lose, so don't worry." So I'd say, all right, I got you. So that was beneficial. I think the community is great, like I had mentioned, and then the cornerstone, I think, also is you have family involvement. So I got to think, my family, there they are right there. So you should stand up, actually, I think. Stand up. The one that didn't stand was my daughter. She's 15. My son is 18. They're both Hopkins athletes now. I'm up in the cities, and they're running cross-country there. So a little bit of a Royals fan now. Always a Cardinal fan. My wife stood up, too. I had to thank her, even though she had nothing to do with my high school career. As I said to her, I think I benefited by not knowing her in high school, perhaps. That was the way I'll say it. And then my parents, and I think obviously people know my dad. He should be known. He's quite a role model. He's been a role model all my life, but his sports endeavors have been very successful because he works hard and he still tries hard. My mother, of course, is the glue that holds it all together. She's kind of kept us all going. I was benefited by 2 older sisters. Many of you know Lori and Stacy, and they all did 3 sports as well. I think that sort of lends itself to when you see your older siblings doing that, I think it opens the door and you feel like I can do that. And so I was very grateful to have a good family support, and I think that's a big key to success. So it's a great honor. I'm very happy about this, and it feels great getting inducted with all the other inductees tonight. Thank you.
Okay, let's meet our third member of tonight's Hall of Fame class. She is a 1998 graduate of Fairmont High School, Kelly Cooterer Wood, and she will be introduced by Jim Cooterer.
Good evening. Congratulations to everyone tonight. Stan said my name is Jim Cooterer, and it is my distinct privilege to introduce Kelly this evening. Kelly is my older sister by 2 years. Although we competed in different activities, I was able to witness and marvel at her remarkable achievements during her time here at Fairmont High School. Now, growing up in a family with 4 children, our parents often had to pull double duty. It seemed I was always dragged along to all these gymnastics meets and basketball games in our younger years. I remember Kelly winning blue ribbons in gymnastics and dominating most, if not all, the events at those meets. Now, if you've never been to a gymnastics meet that contains girls ages 5 through 12, there's about 12 teams, 10 places per each event, and the award ceremony took about as long as the entire competition. Now, Kelly also played basketball in grade school, which not many people remember. I remember her being the high scorer in most of those games. There was one game in particular where St. John Vianney beat the visitors 24-4. Kelly scored 22 points for St. John Vianney and 2 points for the other team, making her the high scorer for both teams that day. Quite impressive. Now, Kelly had a short but sweet cross-country career. She only earned 1 letter, but it was during 8th grade. Having witnessed the camaraderie and success that she enjoyed in the sport, it inspired me to start running in 6th grade, which is something I continue to this day. I'm confident that if Kelly decided to start running again, I wouldn't be able to keep up. She's just that good at whatever she puts her mind to. Of all the letters Kelly earned in sports, from volleyball to cross-country to gymnastics and track, I thought the most impressive was what she did at the state tournament her junior year. She qualified for shot put. She was 5'5", 130 pounds, long blonde ponytail, and she was competing against these much taller, much larger girls. So she was the shorter girl, unassuming, and she had this brute strength that nobody saw coming. She made the finals that year, throwing against athletes already accepting scholarships to major universities. And that year she proved to be one of the best throwers in the state. So I knew Kelly was strong. It's probably why we got along so well. I never mouthed off to her. But I will admit, it was pretty cool growing up as your younger brother. She looked out for me. She was always humble and friendly. She could dominate at any sport, but she was the ultimate teammate. She was always helping and encouraging others to succeed. Our grandfather, Elton Cooterer, used to say, if you are any good at something, you don't have to tell others. They will tell you. Well, Kelly, you were great. Thank you for being a great sister, a great mentor, and for always cutting my hair. So congratulations on your introduction to the Fairmont High School Hall of Fame.
That was sweet, Jim. Hello. Once again, my name is Kelly Wood. I'm the daughter of Greg and Roxanne Cooterer. I'm very honored and humbled to receive this award tonight. There are so many people who have played a role in my high school athletics career from 1994 to 1998, from coaches to parents, teammates to the community. I'd like to start off by thanking Charlie Sorrells and the Hall of Fame Committee for the nomination and selection into this prestigious group of Fairmont High School Athletic Hall of Famers, and tonight especially on the 24th year, along with the 7 other amazing nominees. In 1994, as a scrawny, that's a word, little girl, I had the honor to start running for Mr. Bonk's cross-country team, as well as be a member of the high school gymnastics team. I was young and naive, but I was competitive. Being thrown into the same circle of teammates up to 5 years older, I grew up quick. They may have been older and stronger, but I sure did want to beat them. When just my skill wasn't enough, I was so lucky to be surrounded and taken in by coaches who were extremely smart and savvy. They somehow knew what I was capable of doing before I even knew I could do it myself. In 1997, my junior year as a hurdler, jumper, and pole vaulter, Mr. Bonk took me to the side and said, "I'm putting you in the shot put." I was shocked, but quickly agreed because I knew I didn't have to run as far in practice. I also knew I was going to be hanging out with Mr. Elder. Later that year, and a heck of a lot less miles ran in practice, who knew it would have led to my furthest throw, the new school record, for about 18 years. Felt amazing and taught me so many lessons on and off the track. Along with the slew of great coaches at Fairmont High School, I was lucky enough to be amongst so many great teammates, from throwers to runners, jumpers to tumblers, vaulters, spikers, and diggers. They showed me respect, gave me friendship, and pushed me to be a better athlete. Now, none of these sports would have been as fun without an audience. The community that surrounded Fairmont High School athletics was like a giant extended family. I felt supported and looked up to. If they liked it or not, Charlie Sorrells and Lori Peters were going to transport me right to their doorstep via the Sentinel, at least biweekly, and I hope I represented Fairmont well. Finally, I'd like to thank my parents. As a parent now myself, I finally understand the sacrifice of time, money, energy that they made for me during my athletic career. I am really stumped on how they consistently provided me with shoes, leotards, gear, warm-ups, lots of food, and etc. This was all pre-Amazon Prime, so that was a lot of shopping. Now it's my turn to do the same as my parents did for my kids selflessly. 1994 to 1998, 5 amazing years, taught me confidence, self-esteem, cooperation, respect, trust, preparation, courage, leadership, and strength. Thank you, Fairmont High School, for letting me be a part of your family, and thank you, Fairmont Hall of Fame Committee, for this special honor.
And congratulations again, and let's meet our 4th inductee into the Hall of Fame class of 2018. He is a 1975 graduate of Fairmont High School. Joe Huss will be introduced by Jessica Huss.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Huss, and I am honored to be here tonight to introduce to you my dad, Joe Huss. I am proud that Fairmont High School is inducting him, my dad, into the Hall of Fame, as he has always been an awesome father. He encourages my brother and I in many ways. I can honestly say, without a father like my dad, I don't think I would have had the drive I do today. He is the one I have serious money talks with, the one I go to about car troubles or plumbing issues. Just last weekend, he replaced my garbage disposal in my condo, and he continues to help me in many ways. I wasn't surprised to learn that my dad was a hurdler. He helped me face many hurdles and has remained a loyal employee of Frontier Communications for the last 39 years. He has been married to my mom for 36 years, so he is definitely committed to go the distance, no matter what obstacle he has to jump over, through, or go around. My dad grew up in a house with 3 boys. He was the middle child. His younger brother, Dan, who currently lives in Berlin, sent me an email about my dad's track and field journey. When my dad started high school, he first started playing tennis his freshman year, and he was good at it too. When he decided to go for track as a sophomore, his whole family thought he was crazy because he was a pretty skinny-legged kid. However, he proved them wrong and lettered in track as a sophomore. He broke the school record in 1975 at the Centennial Relays. The old record was held by my late dad's friend, Gordon Trout, who previously set the record in 1945. He continued in track through his senior year of high school. His main events were the high and low hurdles. According to my uncle, hurdles require quite a bit of body contortion. The key is to get your leading leg kicked out in front and lean so low so that you nearly hit your chin on your knee and get your lead leg back to the ground as fast as possible, which requires swiveling your hips to whip your trailing leg over the hurdles 3 times and repeat. For the high hurdles, in my dad's senior year, he finished 3rd in high hurdles and 5th in the low hurdles at state. My dad's dad, my grandpa John, passed away last year. My uncle said he was very proud of my dad, and any chance he had, he was in the stands with his sunglasses on and a Heuer stopwatch, timing my dad's races. Today, Dad, we have that stopwatch to pass down to you as a keepsake for your achievements. My grandma Dolly, my mom and brother, my aunt and uncle, his older brother and wife are all here to support you today, and the great man that you are. With that, let me introduce you to my dad.
Wow. I didn't expect that. Well, I'd like to congratulate the MVPs and the other inductees as well. Congratulations to all you guys. You know, you really can't talk about somebody from the 1975 track team unless you talk about the 75 track team. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to do that. It all started for me in that team in 1973. Half that team was sophomores and freshmen. And I don't just mean they were on the team. They were all competing. There just weren't any juniors or seniors out that year. I remember coming back on the bus from the first meet, the South Central Conference indoor track meet. We were all laughing, joking, talking loud, and Maynard Johnson, our head coach, stood up, turned around, and said, "Hey, you guys need to think about what just happened. We just scored 7 points." Okay. 10 points for first, 8 for second. We got 6 points for third and 1 for sixth. That was a tough year. We got better as the year went on. I remember by the end of the season, most of the guys had won medals, but I hadn't. It was the last meet, St. James Olympiad, last chance to win a medal. You won for the first 3 in an event. I was coming into that last hurdle. I was a half a step behind the guy from St. James. He was a senior. He was pretty good. And if my lead leg would have went over that last hurdle instead of under it, I plowed into those cinders, popped up, ran across that finish line, and dang it if I didn't just about get second to last. 1973 was behind us. We had learned our lesson. We had paid our dues. 1974, we had 5 seniors join that were out that year, and lost my place there. We had 5 seniors that were out for that team. The freshmen were now sophomores were now juniors, and we did win a couple of trophies that year. We did pretty good. We won the regional track meet, and Maynard Johnson, our track coach, summarized that season saying it was the best track team effort we had had in 10 years in Fairmont. That was the 1974 track team. Moving on to 75, we had 30 returning track men come out for that season. They were joined by a couple of new guys. We had 12 seniors that year, the most we'd had in a couple of years. We had that many juniors, and we had a handful of sophomores that were filling in the blank spots that we had on that team. In the South Central Conference indoor track meet, that first year we'd scored 7 points. 1974, we scored 125. We had scored 148 in the outdoor season. We won both those. We won all the dual meets, all the triple meets. We won all the invitationals, including the Estherville relays. Maynard Johnson had done some research on that, and no Fairmont team had ever won at the Estherville relays. That was the 74th running of the Estherville meet. That team set 4 school records and 22 meet records. I think it was best summarized by one of our competitors. It was a South Central Conference outdoor track meet. We were late getting there. Bus was late. Last ones to show up. I remember coming through the gate, one of the first ones, and off the side there were a bunch of guys from various teams talking. One of them turns and sees us coming through the gate, and he says, "Dang it, Fairmont's bus didn't break down. Who's taking second?" It was an awesome year. And Maynard had a lot to do with that. One of Maynard's summaries at the end of that season was, "This is going to be a season for all of us to remember for the rest of our lives." Check. He also said, "We were all invited to the brand new assistant coach's wedding that summer. He had started in 74 with the freshmen and moved up to varsity in 1975. He was our secret weapon. His name was Mr. Bob Bonk. Started in 1974. I'd like to thank Matt Mahoney for his coordination efforts leading up to this event. It's very good. Appreciate that. I'd like to thank Charlie Sorrells for his wonderful Sentinel article. It was awesome. I'm thankful for the nomination, looking past that sophomore year we had. I'm thankful for the committee voting for me, especially whoever threw that tiebreaker. I'm sure that was probably required. And thanks for this. It's better than a medal. Thank you.
So, Bob, the wedding went pretty good, didn't it? Yep. Our 5th inductee into the Hall of Fame here tonight is a 1996 graduate of Fairmont High School. Amber Olinger Halverson is going to be introduced by Hannah and Brent Halverson.
I'm Hannah Halverson, and I'm in 5th grade. I am here to talk to you guys about my magnificent mom. My mom was a basketball champion, a track and field star, and did I mention she makes the best banana bread? Even ask my neighbors. My mom is amazing. She comes to all my dance competitions and volleyball games. She makes my cold lunch every day for school, and she gives the best goodnight kisses me and my sister could ever ask for. Recently, I had to go to the hospital, and I had to stay overnight there. My mom volunteered to stay with me. It was hard to sleep there because of how noisy it was. But what really surprised me was that she wasn't crabby in the morning after that long night. But hey, at least the food was great. I love my mom so much. As she always says, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. Now, let's give a warm welcome to my mom, Amber Halverson.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that one. So other than to say, Matt knows this because I told him on the phone, I do not like public speaking, so my speech will be very quick. But so I just want to say that I am truly honored to be alongside all of these other amazing inductees here tonight. Just a few people to thank. Thank you to the Hall of Fame committee for nominating me. I'm truly humbled to be up here and receiving this honor. And then thank you to my coaches over the years. I have a ton of wonderful memories. But for some odd reason, the memories that stick, Mr. Bonk and Mr. Paschke are going to Godfather's Pizza before individual state track meets to eat the buffet, all-you-can-eat buffet. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that's what I remember. So, food on my mind. Also, thank you to my biggest fan, my mom, who was always there cheering me on and continues to do that through my life. And then also thank you to my dad, who has taught me, who taught me how to appreciate each day, and I miss you every day. Thank you to my family, Brent, my husband, who came up here with Hannah, Elena, who is sitting next to my mom. You complete me, you three. So thank you. And a special thank you to Hannah for introducing to me tonight. That was wonderful. She didn't let me read it beforehand, so that was a surprise. She did it all herself. So thank you.
I think Hannah's set the bar pretty high here for the rest of the night, too. So let's meet our sixth inductee to the Fairmont Cardinal Hall of Fame for 2018. He's a 1967 graduate of Fairmont High School. Gary Highland will be introduced by Tom Gallagher.
Thank you, Dan. I'm extremely proud to be introducing a lifelong dear friend of mine this evening, Gary Highland. Gary and I first met when we were 12-year-old caddies at Interlaken Golf Club, some time ago. We would lug a golfer's bag around the golf course for 4 hours for the outstanding sum of $1.65. Now, we weren't sure we had made a great career choice, but what we were sure is we were forming a lifelong friendship. And during our high school years, that friendship increased. We became best of buddies and enjoyed a lot of time with each other. When it came time to go to college, neither one of us was heavily recruited by the colleges. Well, to be honest, neither one of us were recruited by any colleges. So off to Worthington Junior College we went as roommates. And we had a great time there. Gary will tell you that he was quite a star in their football team. From Worthington, I came back to Fairmont and went to work. Gary went on to join the United States Navy. He served honorably for 4 years during the Vietnam era. And upon his completion of that, he got into the hotel industry, managing hotels through mainly through Florida until 2002, when that career brought him back to Fairmont, managing the Torgerson properties here in Fairmont. While he was here, he met a local gal, Lael Ledke, Dr. Lael Ledke, and married her. And just a few years ago, Gary followed Lael to a career change, an opportunity in Nashville, Tennessee. So we lost him for a little while again. I would convince him to retire here someday with Lael, but we've had a lifelong friendship, and I'm very, very proud to introduce Gary Highland. More cowbell?
Yeah. Thanks, Tomer. Thank you, Tommy. And I want to thank the committee and especially Matt Mahoney. He's done such a great job leading this, the MVPs as well. When I was a kid growing up in the 1950s and the 60s, the NFL was just really getting big on TV, and the players I used to like to watch were the wide receivers. They were making those over-the-shoulder catches, the catches on the sideline, going over the middle, stiff-arming guys, scoring touchdowns. That's what I wanted to do. I was watching a game one day, and they talked about a wide receiver named Tommy McDonald who had written a book called They Pay Me to Catch Footballs. That sounded perfect. So I got a hold of that book, and it was about his journey to the NFL, but it also had a chapter or two on kind of the technical aspects of being a wide receiver, how to run a pass pattern, how to do a double move, how to follow the ball with your nose right into your hand, how to communicate with your quarterback, and how to set that defensive backup on the very first offensive play for a move you might need on the very last offensive play. So number one, I had some ideas about how to technically be a wide receiver, and I used to practice this stuff in my backyard all by myself, but it wasn't long before I realized, number two, I need somebody to throw me the ball. Well, luckily, in my grade school at William Budd School, there was a redhead, freckle-faced kid named Mike Daly. And Mike was a natural quarterback. He loved to organize games with the other grade schools. He loved to diagram plays. And I realized pretty quickly that this guy was going to be our quarterback when we got to high school. And I think I was right about that because he went on to play at Augustana, coach in the Big Ten, and he's in this Hall of Fame. And then number three, I realized I was going to need a coach that wanted to throw the ball. Well, I got 2 out of 3. I learned a lot of great stuff from Big Dauber, Coach Tom Mahoney, things that would help me all the way through my life, things about hard work and teamwork and leadership. But I also learned he had a saying, there's only 3 things that can happen when you throw the football, and 2 of them are bad. So I knew I had to work hard to gain his confidence that if we threw the football, I was going to catch it. I made the varsity as a sophomore but didn't play much. But as a junior, I started as offensive end and defensive back, and he had me returning kickoffs and punts. And because we had some really good senior blockers, Ron Gerhardt is one I remember, and Mike Schultz another, I was able to take a couple of kickoffs back for touchdowns. But we still weren't throwing the ball much. Well, about midway through the season, we're playing on the road at Blue Earth, and we're in a 7-7 tie. It's late in the game, and we get the ball deep in our own territory. And we hit a couple of long passes, and we set up for a field goal right at the end of the game. Time's expiring. It's up. It's no good. Game ended 7-7 tie, which was a disappointment. But I think the coach got some confidence in us at that game, and we started to throw the ball a little bit more at the end of the season. I was able to score a couple times. Senior year, Mike and I were named co-captains, and it was really a great honor. And we had some really good seniors on that team, but we weren't real deep. So there were a lot of juniors and a lot of sophomores that were getting starting jobs and getting a lot of playing time. And one of them was a 150-pound middle guard, tough as nails kid named Doug Banks, father of Katie Banks. So we had that going on, and we opened the year up at Worthington, and we lost a close game. But then we won 3 in a row, and we were coming into homecoming week. We're 3-1, and we're going to play Blue Earth. They had a team. They were 4-0, and they had a running back that you guys might recognize, Bob Bonk. Yeah, his name comes up a lot around here, doesn't it? They were really good, but we wanted some revenge on that team. We had a really good week of practice, and we were ready to go. Unfortunately, they were a little bit more ready to go, and we got plastered 34-6. We did score in a pass play. I think it was one of only 2 touchdowns scored in that team the whole year. They were really good. So there we were mid-season. We're 3-2. We got 4 games left. What's going to happen to us? Well, luckily we were able to win a couple of games coming from behind, and we won a couple of games going away. We ended up 7-2 with a 1 conference loss, second place behind Blue Earth, who went 9-0. But the next year, the juniors that were on my senior team, they went 9-0. And the next year, the sophomores, they went 9-0. And the next year, the Cardinals went 9-0. That was 3 undefeated seasons, 27 straight, plus the 4 from the end of my senior year. That was 31 straight wins, which at that time I believe was a Minnesota State record, and that record belonged to the Big Dauber. I was always proud of the fact that after getting punched in the face at homecoming, we started that winning streak. So as Tom said, after that, he and I went to Worthington Junior College and a bit more pass-friendly offense. I was able to lead the league there in receptions, receiving yards, and interceptions for both years I was there. But I was also last on my team in tackles. Yeah. After that, I did join the Navy in 1969, and the stuff that I learned on the practice field back here at FHS, hard work, teamwork, and leadership, got me through 4 years in the Navy and 2 Vietnam deployments. I got out in 73 and eventually moved to Florida and got into the hotel business and started at the bottom, really, as a night auditor. But I knew the keys to success. I'd learned them out here. So I was able to move up the food chain and became a front desk manager, a front office manager. I became an assistant manager at an 850-room luxury hotel on Disney property, and eventually became a general manager. And I worked as a GM in Tampa, Key West, Cocoa Beach, St. Augustine, Orlando. And in 1998, I learned that Torgerson Properties was looking for a GM to open a hotel in Rochester. I also learned that the guy I'd interview with had been a GM out here, belonged to Interlochen Golf Club, and knew some of the guys I knew. And I've always been grateful for Tommy, Daryl DeWar, and Bruce Donnelly for helping me get that job. I got back to Minnesota and opened that hotel in the summer of '98 over in Rochester. And because we had a great location, we had a super product and an excellent staff, we were named Hotel of the Year for Marriott in 1999. I then moved to Hilton Garden Inn in Egan, and then in 2002, Torgerson asked me if I want to come to Fairmont. Well, yeah. So I came back here, and also that spring, I got to play in the Cardinal Classic Golf Tournament. And in my foursome, and actually in my golf cart, was Coach Tom Mahoney. Now, I'd always been a little intimidated by this guy. It was always a coach-player, teacher-student kind of a relationship. But if you spend 5 hours in a golf cart with a guy, you get to know him pretty well. So Coach asked me what I had done after high school, and I said I'd gone to JC. And he said, oh, yeah, I remember the coach you played for. You did pretty well over there. And I said, well, we had some good teams. He said, what'd you do after that? And I said, oh, I joined the Navy. And he said, oh, I was in the Navy. And I go, Coach, you're ex-Navy? I had no idea. And he said, yeah. He said, what'd you do in the Navy? I said, well, I was a signalman. You know those guys with the flashing lights, the Morse code? He said, you don't have to tell me what a signalman is. That's what I did. And it really turned our relationship right there. And from that point on, I really felt like he was a friend. Also in 2002, I got asked by Gary Anderson if I wanted to go up in the booth and do the Friday night football games. And I jumped at the chance because it was going to be a lot of fun, I knew. And I was lucky enough to have in the booth with me my friend and neighbor, Randy Quiring. Now, nobody loved the Cardinals more than RQ. And I know he'd be incredibly proud of the contributions to the athletic department that his wife Kelly, his daughter Quincy, sons Noah and Wyatt, and daughter Rhea have made to the school. And I know that he'll be even prouder of them as they go through life. I want to thank everybody that came out tonight, my ex-classmates, old coaches, old teachers. It's really wonderful to see you. And one person that's not here tonight is my son Corey, who passed away in 2016. But I know he'd be proud of me, and I can feel his hug, and I can see his smile. I really want to thank my beautiful and wonderful wife, Lael. She's always cheered me on, even when I was playing. Well, she was in kindergarten then, so it was probably not, but I do want to thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Time to meet our seventh inductee of the evening. She's a 2002 graduate of Fairmont High School, Kate Banks, and she will be introduced by Gretchen Banks.
My name is Gretchen Banks, and I'm the mother of Kate Banks. little Oedipus there. When Kate first asked me to introduce her at the Cardinal Hall of Fame banquet, my first reaction, as is often the case according to my husband, was negative. I thought, no, that's really out of my comfort zone. Upon further reflection, I decided I was being rather hypocritical. You see, all the years Kate was growing up, we encouraged her to try new things, to have the confidence to move out of her comfort zone. I think that is one of the many traits I most admire about Kate, her willingness to put herself in situations where the outcome is unknown, where she might be out of her comfort zone. Sports have played an enormous part in helping shape Kate's character. She grew up in a neighborhood where she was the only girl, sandwiched between an older brother and a younger brother. They'd organize neighborhood baseball games down at St. John Vianney Playground, working the phone like little bookies, cajoling kids to play in order to field enough players for the teams. Kate learned early on to hold her own in pickup games, which could get heated, and to resolve game disputes without adults intervening. In middle school, as Kate advanced to playing organized sports like basketball, she began to learn skills like discipline, perseverance, teamwork, and sportsmanship. In high school, Kate played basketball, tennis, and ran track and cross country. Then in college at St. Ben's, she played tennis. Throughout her school years, Kate was fortunate to have had so many good coaches and assistant coaches to mentor her. Coaches first for traveling team basketball like Daryl DeWar and Jim Midkey. I think those chocolate candy bars helped too, though. Ron Kalheim, Brian Petroviak, and Patty Strukel for basketball. Eric Johnson, tennis, and Bob Bonk, cross country and track. You all may have thought you were just coaching her in sports, but in fact you were teaching her important life skills which have served her well in both her personal and professional life. You taught her about winning with humility, and more importantly, about losing graciously. We, her parents, are very grateful to you. It is my honor to introduce my daughter, Kate Banks.
Thanks, Mom. Good evening to everyone. It's wonderful to be here tonight, and I'm deeply honored to be included among such a dynamic and decorated class of inductees. A huge heartfelt thank you to the committee and Matt Mahoney for this award, and a huge congratulations to my fellow honorees. Since learning of my nomination late last spring, I've had a lot of time to take more than one stroll down memory lane. Fortunately for me, these strolls included many, many positive recollections. For example, caring coaches who guided and mentored me year after year, state, sectional, and conference championships, a total team transformation, and countless nail-biting comebacks. While recounting and replaying the many games, matches, and meets, I found myself always circling back to one constant in my high school athletics career: my teammates. Although I stand up here tonight alone, I most definitely know that in addition to the leadership from our wonderful coaches, it's because of the young women on my tennis, basketball, and track teams that I achieved what I did. I thrived in and loved playing team sports, counting on my peers for fun and laughter, to set the pace, hold me accountable, and support me through the finish. When chatting with friends in current day about high school memories, I feel unique to have participated in such a healthy, competitive community of young women who expected and encouraged strength, power, and grit during a stressful and confusing time in our young lives. It was anchoring to have this community to turn to, and my confidence and leadership abilities soared through my participation alongside them. Now, as I take a look at my life today in 2018, I can see many ways in which I'm a better person because of this community. I still love healthy competition, continue to use exercise for enjoyment, to challenge myself and to find relief from stress, and I feel adept at setting goals and making a plan to meet them. Most crucially, though, is how I've been impacted professionally. Up until this past spring, I had dedicated myself for 5 years to a nonprofit whose mission is to grow girls from low-income communities academically, emotionally, and physically stronger using sports as the vehicle. The same lessons in community building, confidence, trust, leadership, and perseverance that I learned with my teammates on the fields and courts in rural Minnesota, I can see unfolding through our work in the lives of girls and young women across the neighborhoods of New York City. These universal life skills are truly transformative, giving those who accumulate them truly a leg up in life. I count myself fortunate to earn a living by paying it forward so that others can reap the same rewards that I have. So again, although I stand up here alone tonight, I know I share this award with my many outstanding teammates. Thanks again to the committee for this honor, and I'm very proud to be here tonight celebrating with the Fairmont Cardinals Hall of Fame class of 2018. Thank you.
I think this is the 5th time that I've either been here or emceed this event, and it never ceases to amaze me how we have young men and women who grow up in this town and go anywhere, everywhere in the world. You can go anywhere from here, and for a lot of folks, a lot of roads lead you back here. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. So I'd like to introduce our final inductee of the night tonight. On a personal note, I can say with my service on the school board, it was always a pleasure to work with him, and he has done a lot for Fairmont High School in his career. And tonight he's being inducted as a coach into the Hall of Fame. So now Dave Paschke will be introduced by Bob Bonk.
It is a real honor for me to introduce my very good friend, Dave Paschke. I know Sue Ruin said she's going to put a stopwatch on me, so I will try to focus on just 3 of his many outstanding qualities: his intelligence, his rational calmness, and his successfulness. I knew the first time Dave came to Fairmont, he was a very intelligent guy. I think it was the fall of '79, and he was hired to be the calculus teacher. And one conversation with Dave, and you knew right away this guy really knew what was going on. In the 80s and 90s, as we coached together, we had the privilege of going to many state meets together. And a lot of times at the state meet, it's a 2-day affair, and so there's quite a bit of downtime between the Friday and Saturday. And so often the malls were booming then, and we were little town folks, so we would go to the mall for a while with the kids to give them some time to enjoy that. And so Dave and I would kind of end up walking around together, and after about 5 minutes, we would just kind of non-verbally know that we really wanted to split up. And and so I would usually go to some record store or music store and check out all the oldie cassettes they would have and see what I could keep, because I knew that the cassette tapes were here forever and they would be the greatest way to listen to music for my entire life. And Dave would kind of wander into these new computer stores with all this technology and stuff, and I would kind of smugly think, well, he's wasting his time there. That's just a fad that's not going to last very long. And like I say, Dave was the intelligent one. Another impression I've had of Dave over the years has been how rational and calm he can be, in very emotional, stressful situations. Throughout his career as a math teacher and a technology guru and Fairmont High School principal and all the different coaching he's done, he's always had that very rational calmness. And I used to, especially in the 80s and 90s, I just loved going to coaching clinics to pick up all these new things, these new ideas, and about training and team building and stuff. And I'd come back, and the first guy I'd always try to bounce it off was Dave. And usually he was very encouraging. You know, he would say, yeah, we should try doing that, and yeah, that's a good idea, and well, maybe we could tweak it a little bit. But then every now and then, he would just give me the look. How many of you who know Dave have seen the look? All right, there they go. Okay. And he would just kind of look at me and stare at me for what seemed like a half an hour. And it actually was less than a half a minute. But I would know at that point, okay, that's a dumb idea, and that Dave was saving me from a lot of further embarrassment. And I really appreciated the look the times he gave it to me. And a third thing that really impresses me, and when I think about Dave, is all the success he's had in his many different hats he's worn as an educator, from math teacher to technology person to high school principal to all these other roles he's played. And as it's been kind of mentioned, I'm kind of a numbers guy. And so I just wanted to kind of talk about his coaching career in the numbers a little bit in terms of success. We coached together in cross country from the early 80s to 2000. And when I first started, I was the only coach, and then we started to get a junior high program going. And Dave was actually the coach who got 3 of the 4 DeFreeze girls going, Andrea and Tanya and Leah, Becky Lund, Dawn Schaefer, Tracy Kallheim, a lot of those runners, and we used to call them the Mud Hens. The Twins farm team, you know, the Toledo Mud Hens. And I know the second year he coached junior high, the Mudheads could have beat the varsity. And so those girls kind of came up through the ranks, and we had some great years together with those girls. In the 15 years he was my high school assistant, from 86 to 2000, both the boys and girls, we got to go to 22 state meets, 12 times with the boys and 10 times with the girls. And Dave played a huge role in that. Dave also coached basketball for a long time. He was the freshman coach for many years. And then when Joel Hokanson became the head coach, Dave was his varsity assistant. When Leon Schaefer became the head coach, Dave took the B squad over. And as you know, there's a lot of games in a basketball season, and I remember one year in particular, and I can't remember if it was B squad or freshman, but there was about a 20-game schedule, and they went undefeated. And that was really a tremendous achievement, I thought. In track, I don't think anybody could have predicted the route he would take as a track coach. In high school, he was a distance runner at Faribault High School in both cross country and track. And that first year, 79-80, he was here. I didn't have any openings, but I knew how smart this guy was, and I did have an opening in the throws. And so Dave took him on, and they were a kind of a challenging crew that year. And but he showed his patience and his calmness, and we got through the season. And then the next year, we had an opening in the jumps. Again, David never jumped. He was more of a runner and the pole vault, and he took on that challenge of all those very highly technical areas. And during the time he coached the jumps, the girls' history in track and field goes back about 45 years now, and the boys actually from, I think, early 40s at least, so about 80 years. And during his tenure as a jumps coach, actually Quees came along and took over the vault for him once we became a co-ed program. And but in his time of about 15 years or so of coaching the jumps, he's coached 6 of the top 10 girls in the high jump, including the school record holder Lisa Jensen and the number 2 jumper Amber Olinger. He's coached 4 of the top 10 long jumpers, including school record holder Jill Newland, 5 of the top 10 in the triple jump, including school record holder Shanna Dawson and Kate Banks, who's on that list. On the high jump for the boys, 6 of the top 10, long jump, 5 of the top 10, triple jump, 7 of the top 10, including school record holder Kelly Schroeder. So that's just an example. Everything he's done and taken on, I think he's had great success and has become such a tremendous asset to all the programs and all the different roles he's taken. I have great respect for Dave Paschke, and now he's our latest recipient of Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Bob, and thank you so much to the nominating committee and everybody that came here tonight and everybody that helped put this together. Bob talked a little bit back in the day. There are rumors about Bob and I spending more time together than during my first 15 or so years of marriage than I did with Kim. I mean, we especially more hotel time. This is actually true because, well, first of all, I was cheap, and we really weren't making much money at the time. And you know, as Bob said, we had this kind of going to state thing going, and going to state meant enjoying the good times at the Holiday Inn, you know, the Old Country Buffet, and if lucky, we even got to go to the Panakuchen. So, you know, going to state became kind of a regular, almost expected event, and I never really understood that, but every one of those was just packed full of gifts and was based on a tremendous amount of hard work and exceptional support from many of you folks that are sitting here today. I was really lucky when I came to Fairmont because I grew up with the Fairmont icons of coaching, and I still think they're the icons of coaching, and that's not to put down anybody that's coaching right now, but you know, I kind of grew up here. When I first started here, I was just a few years older than the students I was teaching. I had a number of students that were just I was only 3 or 4 years older than they were, and I had a chance to work with folks like Tom Mahoney and Herb Wolf and Judy Lorenz and Ron Hested, Sherwood Sagadol, Maynard Johnson, Dan Kerberg, Barb Hall, Joe Burns, Arv Soma. All those folks were here and coaching and doing great things when I started, and I observed those folks and sometimes a little bit of envy even at their abilities to connect with students and the community, and they were always influencing really what was going on in the school and even in the paper. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. So I had this great set of role models that I really helped me learn to coach and teach, and in many cases how to raise a family. I was blessed with being able to coach just about every day from mid-August through October and March through early June for almost 20 years with Bob Bonk. When I first started, Bob was kind of the new kid on the block, and he had some different philosophies. He had the big hair. He talked about running was good, that you know, you you shouldn't run because you missed a free throw or because you missed a block. You should run because running's good. Everybody gets to compete in track and cross country, and one of the things that I think helped us the most was what our measurement of success was. And our measurement of success, we certainly had wins and losses, and like other folks have mentioned, we were both kind of numbered guys in many ways, but the real measurement of success for us was measuring that work that you had to put in and improve, and what we talked about almost every day in practice with runners of the day, runners of the meet, runner of this, was improvement. It wasn't about whether we won or not. It was about, did you improve? Did you work towards making yourself improve? And then Bob and I, we had our own special measurement of success in the locker room, and that was our our shirt and sock wringing contest after each cross-country practice, and whoever had the most stink and the most sweat was the winner. And this was also especially a special event for our wives when we cleaned things out maybe every other Saturday and brought stuff home for them to admire. I learned a great deal from coaching with Bob and all the exceptional coaches he recruited to work with the cross-country and track program. These coaches really became part of our family. They helped raise our kids, build decks, and they really made Fairmont Schools a great place to work every day. The programs were not just great for student athletes, they were also great for assistant coaches. This almost leadership farm club that was put together helped develop numerous principals, superintendents, directors, and other recognized leaders that are actually have been recognized throughout the state and the whole country, all kind of valuing this one same thing, and that is that you put in work to improve and you support each other, and that's your measurement of success. Fairmont Schools and community gave me and my family many great career and growth opportunities. We came to Fairmont 8+ months pregnant on kind of a 5-year plan to get some experience and maybe move on to some other things. And after 36 years and raising 2 boys who grew up in the computer labs and golf courses, parks, basketball courts, and jumping pits, we had Chris and Pat, who knew every worm in the big sandbox, actually the jumping pit, and were able to take splits and measure steps and call scratches before they were probably in kindergarten. I'm one of those fortunate coaches to be able to have coached both my sons, Chris and Pat, while in both cross country and track. And one of my greatest moments, I guess, ever was being able to walk behind them the year that both our boys and girls won the state championship for Fairmont in track, and that was truly a fantastic memory. Also, that same time, I had one of the worst memories of my coaching career, and that's I was running with the pack of boys. It was right before, I think, that conference meet. We had a good team, and this kid on this little scooter came running down, and all of a sudden he came down the hill, went right into our pack of runners, hit my son Chris. He went, I could see this in slow motion, he went over, did like almost a somersault in the air, landed on his arm, and we ended up in the emergency room. That was quite a tough thing for us, but he ended up coming back and being able to run later that season yet. Coaching was a real family affair for us, and it had to be. I mean, one of the cool things they had, my grandparents, my grandpa and grandma Newman, they would be at everything that was in the Waseca area, and they would not only be there, they would be there before our bus got there, and many times they were still there when our bus was leaving. And my grandpa was the old head custodian of Waseca schools. So he would make sure things were right when we went to play those Sikh squad basketball games in some kind of tough places and so forth. And it was just a fantastic situation. Our parents traveled all over the place to watch our teams even before their grandsons were competing. Kim's dad Harold was the greatest at finding out the perfect spot in every cross-country meet to stand, and his voice could be heard throughout the entire meet at any time. Person in my family that's probably the most deserving of this honor is my wife, Kim. Kim was part of most every meet and game and was always there to make things work when I was coaching. She actually took over the track coaching position when I resigned, and that created almost a 30-year run of one of the Paschkes coaching the jumps. And she still loves to flaunt, and actually did this yesterday again. Her state meet qualifiers and the records that she coached, but her thing she might be known for best was she bakes the best chocolate chip cookies in the region, and she would give those to all kinds of folks. And that tradition goes on with chocolate chip cookies, making their way all the way to the band in the Denver area schools. So, Kim may have also contributed to the cowbell rule in cross country, as you may know that was outlawed, and I think it was because of her. At least they didn't outlaw the orange hats, Bob. Fairmont is one of those fortunate communities where taking care of children is one of their highest priorities, and where the school district really values and balances activities and academics. The number of AAA region state winners coming from Fairmont is not by accident. My current job is all about helping schools build their capacity to meet the needs of children, and we work on things like individualizing instruction and trying to change the environment. Things that have been going on in cross-country and track practices for decades are what I work on now with schools. Most of the help I try to give schools comes from the lessons I've learned from working with students, parents, and the coaches here in Fairmont. Fairmont was and continues to be blessed by great families and other community members that support our schools and let us work with our children each day. I was given the opportunity to work with many truly exceptional students and athletes over the years, with many of them teaching me more than I was ever able to teach them. Winning meets and setting records may be things that are recorded in history, but some of the favorite things I remember are things like the 7 a.m. Saturday runs, spaghetti supper during the biggest blizzard in history, watching our runners sing in the play, running over to help a jumper at a big meet who was struggling just to find two of their fellow teammates already there, coaching them, saying the exact same things that I expected to say when I got there. And probably the biggest thing, going to meet after meet, game after game, and seeing more Fairmont parents in all the away events than the parents that came from the hometown. I thank you so much for this honor and for being part of the Fairmont schools.
Okay, that does it for all of our inductees here tonight. Before we leave, how about one more hand for the folks that put this all together, the committee and the Gerhardt family and everybody else that worked so hard to keep this going. All right, we will look forward to seeing you in 2020. Keep achieving those goals and making those memories, and we'll be back to talk about them then. Thanks.